I went and squatted heavy on Sunday with a pulled hamstring. It was just like, I don't care. Whatever. If it pops, it pops.
And when you think about that in your mind, where you're in that place where you're like, oh man, like, yeah, come on, try to f me up. Like, this is going to be great. Let's go. Let's see what happens.
Your advice to me is just believe in myself. Thank you. What do you think I'm trying to
check.
do? Yeah, check. Thank you.
And I see it all the time. Guys come to me, I'll be their second or third therapist. And part of why the other therapist didn't work out is because they never had any goals. Like, look, man, I need to know what we're aiming for. And when I leave her, I want something to do. Like, give me something to do. If grit is required for personal growth, how do we sustain it? And how do we maintain the discipline and empathetic self-awareness required to make sure what we build lasts? If you're curious about the answer to either of those questions, you're in the right place. My name's Tim Winicki. This is American Masculinity. And in our 20th episode, we're lucky enough to have Kevin from Next Level University on. If you haven't already listened to it, listen to 19 first. These are paired episodes. Kevin's partner, Alan, came on and talked to us about how to build grit, how to get through things and get stronger. It was a great episode. Highly recommend it. Kevin's going to help us understand how to build out those things in a sustainable way and how to take what we build and make it last for the long haul. We're so lucky to have these guys. They help so many people at Next Level University, and I'm really happy to have them on. As you're listening, make sure that you're listening for two parts of what you're pushing on. Look for things that you're fired up about, things that are motivating you right now, but also look for those things that maybe aren't doing the job anymore. Maybe some of those things that you've pushed a little too hard, a little too long on, that we might be able to scale back. I'll see you at the end of the episode where we talk about it. Let's get started. Hey, Kevin, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, my friend. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, man, it's been great chatting you and getting ready. And I can't tell you how much it means that you and Alan were willing to come on to this while it's starting out, man. It really, very sincerely, thank you.
Number one, I appreciate the kind words. Number two, very similar to something you said, is I like talking to and working with people who are trying to add value. And it's very abundantly clear you're trying to add value. So any value I can help with is awesome to be a part of.
Well, how many years have you all been doing podcasting and getting mass information out to help people?
Started in 2017. So coming up on 8 years, and 7 of those years have been full time.
So I think you're going to add some polish to this, man. I'm really excited to have it.
We're going to find out. Look, don't paint me too brightly because I might not live up to it, but we'll find out. No matter what, we're going to have a good conversation, and I think everybody will have a new level of awareness when they leave, and what more can you ask for?
Not much, man.
All right.
So Alan brought this intensity, right? Like we were talking about earlier, like your Alan is my Todd. That's my buddy that like pumps you up and doesn't sit still.
Yep.
What I see a lot is because those guys tend to be really successful, guys who don't have that energetic battery try to emulate it and burn out. So you have been teaching with Alan, working with Alan for a long time. What do you see as kind of like the red flags that someone's starting to push that line and starting to get to where they're going to burn out?
When you are convinced that you have to show up in the same exact way as somebody else, or I can't be successful, is a really good suggestion. We all have an essence of who we are. We have a core of who we are. When you start to switch the core beyond what is actually productive, that is a dangerous part. Another telltale sign for me is when you stop enjoying the things that are the most fulfilling to you. If it gets to a point where I don't want to do this, that is a red flag that I'm potentially redlining it. And we got there. You asked me earlier, you said, how many episodes do you do a day? And I said, average probably 3 a day. There was a month last year where I think I did 30 episodes in a week. And I did that. I was running that for like a couple months. And I got to the end and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Not like this.
It's not making it fun anymore.
It's not fun. And I think when it moves past the place of constructivity and past what the point of it in the first place was. Yeah. It's a really good suggestion that even if you're getting the result, the burnout probably isn't worth it.
Yeah, the goal for these kind of things when I'm working with, like, particularly the high achiever guys, man, they always think they can push through burnout instead of manage it, right? They always just want to do the next thing, which is great. Like as a clinician, I love working with guys because guys are more likely to like, give me something to do. Let's go. Like, I want to get better. Give me something to do. But the hard part is for those guys is the answer on what to do is nothing sometimes.
Yes.
Like, can you go through a Saturday and not look at anything with work? Let me know how that goes. for you, it's that when it's misaligned with their personality and they start to not like the things they know they like. That's kind of the cracks in the foundation there.
That's a really big piece of it. And then I think this is a really good reverse engineering of goal setting. Mm-hmm. If the goal you have dictates that you live a misaligned life.
Yeah.
We just did a weight loss challenge. We did 10 pounds in 10 weeks. Mm-hmm. Alan and I lead the charge on that. We're both bodybuilders. We do it every year.
Sure.
We make it abundantly clear that my goal should not be your goal.
Yeah. A 90-pound woman should not be going for 10 pounds.
Nope. A
300-pound guy going for 10 pounds is not doing enough.
It's not doing it. It's not progress. It's not the same level of progress, or it's not healthy and it's not constructive. It has to align with the lifestyle that you want. Mm-hmm. Now, do I want to work 12 hours a day every day? Not necessarily. So there is going to be some carryover, but maybe to your point, I don't work on Sundays.
Yeah.
I might batch my WhatsApp and make sure nothing's burning down, but I'm not working a 13-hour day on Sunday. So I think just going in with the understanding that this is going to be a really hard week in terms of output. What am I doing to fill my cup at the end of it? Always weighing those has been helpful for me.
I think the two big pieces of advice I got on finding balance when you're in a passion job, and I think any entrepreneur who's running their own thing, it's a passion job, whatever it is, is you need people in your life that are both connected to your passion, people that understand it and people that'll like nerd out with you about it. But you also need people around you who do not care that you're doing that at all. The guys that just want to joke about the stupid things you did however many years ago that you did them, or your family who just wants to talk about cousin Joe's new fishing boat, right? I think for me, the big thing I look for balance and what I found during my practice was if I'm never around other clinicians and other helpers, I get really annoyed with my people. And if I'm only around them, I stop being able to connect with other people because we speak differently.
Right. I think the other piece too is it depends on, I would self-identify as like a fairly high performer. Mm-hmm. We're dialed in to a very drastic degree based on what we currently believe is required for the goal. Mm-hmm. If the goal changes, my approach will change.
Right.
That's a really, I don't know. I think a lot of us we're not actually honest with ourselves about what it's going to take, which makes it really challenging. I'm very honest with myself about, to my current awareness, what is this going to take of me and what am I going to trade in? What am I going to regret? I think that's a really important piece of anything in terms of high performance.
Yeah, and I love that you said that because Alan gave me a bit of push on this, right? Because apparently his lady is just as much of a maniac as he is.
More.
And I love that for them.
Yes.
Consequently, absolutely want somebody that matches your energy like that. But I was giving him a hard time because he was talking about having kids. And I was like, yeah, man, that's great. It's going to be really cool to see where your goals land at that point and where this work goes. Because one of the things I also see is guys get kind of locked into that pacing. Like, I'm the guy that's paced like this, instead of this is the pace for what I want to be doing, right? And there's nothing wrong with being a guy who's in a push. You just can't live there. So I was thinking about this a lot because you both have been pretty public about not growing up with fathers. Mm-hmm. And what I see from guys coming in without fathers is their alignment on this kind of thing is out of balance. Because the men that they were kind of identifying with and trying to emulate were only seen as like parasocial relationships. So like actors, big screen TV people, successful people. And when you only see someone in that lane, it just looks like they're always grinding. That's all you see. Whereas when you've got somebody in the home, even if they're super successful, you see them on Sunday in their sweats. How do you think that impacts people differently when they don't grow up with that view?
To your point, I don't think it gives you the full picture. I don't think it gives you full perspective. And the other thing, it never looks like the people on TV are struggling. Mm-hmm. So you see them. The Rock is a great example.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen The Rock have a bad day.
No.
Publicly. I'm sure there are a million of those behind the scenes, and the amount of pressure and stress and the amount of overwhelm and probably the amount of anxiety, like there's so much of that. It's almost like we only see the success and we only are told what led to the success, and then we're given like a very, 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 very high level these are the mistakes I made. But honestly, I wouldn't change anything because I am where I am today. And that's where things get wonky. So I don't think it creates a realistic way of modeling anything. I think that's a really big piece of it. And now more than ever, though, I also think we are seeing the downsides of that level of success.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen enough people come out and share their mental health struggles, and we've seen enough people, unfortunately, take their own lives. And I think a lot of us are like, well, how could you ever based on where you were? But now that's a really good suggestion that, well, success is not, that's not the answer. There's intricacies to this.
Yeah, I think when we put our definition of success in one point, I think that's beautiful for a push, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna pause these other things. I'm gonna tell the people in my life that I'm doing this and have them back me up, but I'm not gonna be as involved as I normally am, and I'm gonna do this year and I'm gonna push this. But if you just stay there, it gets so brittle. And it gets incredibly sharp, right? Like you are just nailing this one thing out of the park, but it's so brittle that the minute something taps the side, people fall apart.
I had a moment, and I'm so curious to your take on this. We've gotten mommed and dadded a lot by people. So like people will be like, hey, you guys really need to slow down. Or I had somebody, and I love this person. It was very kind. They said, Kev, I want you to think about this for 2 minutes. You're already successful. You're already a success. Like, okay, what's the second part though? And a lot of people have tried to mom and dad us. And Kev, don't say you're not in shape. You're in really good shape. This is my standard, not yours. I'm out of shape for my standard. I know what I'm capable of. I have the pictures to show it. That's been a really challenging part of this. And at times I feel unseen from the person giving the feedback because I think they regret their decisions. And now from a higher awareness, they want to share with me the decisions that they regret. What if, and this is my thesis, what if as somebody who has spent every day over the last 10 years practicing self-improvement and self-awareness and self-worth and self-belief, I have a deeper level of awareness of myself today than they do at 55. And that has been Timothy, that right there has been one of the deepest pains of this journey is who's trying to give you advice? Can you actually take it? Do they know? Do they not know that? I don't know what direction that puts us in, but that's my thought.
Well, I think that just goes back to if you wouldn't take someone's advice, don't take their critique, except flipped around a little bit. If someone can't critique your goals, maybe they're not the ones to tell you how to meter them. I think that goes back to that balancing of, you two are bodybuilders. If you're not talking about your fitness with other people in that lane, you're not getting reliable feedback.
Right.
And if you're not talking to an ant that's trying to overfeed you on a Sunday by showing you some love and making you slow down, you're messing up.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
I think the big reason, and I fall into this all the time, like as a counselor, it's really hard because I can't bring my skill set to my loved ones because being a therapist to your loved ones is garbage behavior. You don't have the emotional clarity to do it well. But what I notice in me, and there's good data behind this, the things that we're most worried about in others and the things we judge most harshly in others are the things that we are scared of in ourselves. It's very, very consistent. So part of you, like part of that statement isn't perfect alignment with that, right? Like they don't know themselves as well. They're worried about their decisions around this. They're feeling critiqued and pushed in ways by watching you push hard. And what I do when I'm on the other end of it is I mostly just validate that they care. You start there. If you start with somebody caring, you can almost always get them to back off and see you. Hey man, I feel you. Like you're really worried about me. You really care about this. What do you need to hear from me to trust me? As opposed to getting mad at them for the push. Yeah. Because that's a rupture. If I get mad at them about it, I'm going to start pushing them out. And sometimes you have to, right? If somebody's just constantly hammering on you against what you're trying to do, you're going to put some distance between you two. But
well, and they also don't realize this is a pattern. It's like, well, you're just a piece in the pattern. You don't realize that this is like happened over and over and over and over. And I do think to a degree that's par for the course, right? If you're trying to do something outside of the norm to any extreme measure, anybody who feels like they have lived their life outside of the norm to any extreme measure is going to say, look, I did it. I know you're searching for something. I know. No, I understand. I know what you're saying. I just don't think it's the same thing. But I think that's really good feedback. I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, and I think what's been fun about middle age is almost anybody you respect in middle age has done something well, right? Like a big kind of key that's come up through the course of this podcast has been this idea that masculinity is also attached to competency on some levels, that you can lose your status as a man and you can earn it. And part of that is at some point you got to get good at something. And what I think happens and what I see happen in my 40s and 50-year-old clients and my friends is that they found their path on how to get good at something, and they want to extrapolate that to all the other things to get good at, instead of acknowledging that your patterns and your journey with that is going to be different. So the feedback might be helpful, like, oh, okay, man, that's how you do that. Great. I'll think about that. But I think we get a little egocentric. And I think some of it too is just because it's dude status.
Yeah.
And I imagine for you and Alan both, you intimidate people.
I think him probably more than, I mean, in person, him more than, he's 6'2", I'm 5'5", so it's like next to each other. He looks like my stepfather a little bit, so that's not always the most helpful, but I think energetically, he is extremely intimidating.
Well, I was more thinking about just your status in the groups you're in, right? So you both make very good money. You both have acclaim. People know who you are within your field. You both have visible health, right? You're both big for the frames you have. You're very clearly taking care of yourselves. And so Alan talked a little bit about this of being like, once you're up here, some people are just going to get knocked around on that. But I think that there's a way to be kind with it and to find the people that see past it to connect with you.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's that like kind of layers of connection. There's only so many people that get deep, but there's plenty of people that add to my life out here, out at arm's length.
Yeah. Well, it's the hardest thing for me has been as I've grown as a man, I've gotten more people who want to pour into my life, which I was the quote unquote failure when I was young. I was the guy who wasn't going to make it. I didn't go to college. I didn't have any money, right? Never felt smart. So even hearing you say that stuff is like, interesting. Is that what people think? It's like, is that what people, because I see it that way, but not really, I guess, because I'm just a regular dude.
Well, you're normal in your lane.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of two things with that. Like the adage of we all think of ourselves as the awkward 13-year-old we were. There's some truth there consistently. Like everybody, whatever bothered you at 13 in your 40s, still like somebody can push that button for you. And we are kind of designed to find patterns and to look for them to be comfortable. And so what becomes our normal, even if it's not healthy, even if it's not in alignment with the groups we're in, it feels very strange to step out of.
Yeah.
So for you, you felt behind, you felt unseen, you felt uncared for, and you figured out that you wanted the status and the achievement to heal that. Does that line up?
Yeah.
And that's worked.
It did. And then I had a bout of suicidal ideation.
Yep.
It worked until I realized that it was extremely unfulfilling. I always say this. I was little. I felt overlooked by women, didn't have any money. Okay? Logically, if I can be like 25, have a beautiful partner, just be jacked, and have a boatload of money, like, shouldn't that just even out in the wash? That's the way I thought about it. But the year I was the most quote unquote successful in terms of what I think a lot of people define success as was also the year that my mental health was the worst.
Yeah.
So yeah, it worked. It worked until it didn't. And then I think, and this is something that I used to think sounded very pie in the sky, fortune cookie type. When I found fulfillment, when I podcasted for the first time and I was like, what is that? And what is that strange feeling of just contentment and flow and feeling like you're adding value? How do I get more of that? And then how do I surround, or how do I make my life be around that? That's when something really shifted for me. Because in a lot of ways, like, my life is so hard and I'm overwhelmed, but I don't want it not to be, because I feel so good with what we're doing. So it's like this really weird thing that I don't ever suggest anybody else does. But I also feel like if you did your own version of it, you wouldn't be able to imagine doing anything else in the world ever.
I very much relate to that. My whole young life was very much like pushes and crashes. Is kind of how I frame that, right? You have somebody that validates something that you're doing. You have somebody you care about validate it. We're passionate people, and so you push really hard. And for me in my 20s and even going into my 30s, I just pushed until I fell down and hit that, big depression, right? Hit that big, sometimes suicidal ideation. And it's because sadness is supposed to make you slow down and consolidate. And when you push past a certain point, the sadness starts to rack up and get bigger, and has to. Because there's a part of you that wants consolidation, not growth. And that's the big thing I see with my guys that are super high performers, is they don't know how to consolidate. And it sounds like podcasting is where you kind of made that turn. Of you can keep growing, but you're also really good at like looking around and being like, this feels good. Like I like where I'm at and I like where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. Fulfillment became my consolidation would be measuring or recognizing fulfillment, for lack of better phrasing. And I had a conversation with Alan today. I went to a bachelor party. We played golf. I liked it.
Nice.
I liked it. I really enjoyed it. And I was like, what are your thoughts on me playing like once a week? Once a week, Sunday. I don't work Sundays anyway. What are your thoughts? And he said, well, will it be fulfilling? And I said, yeah, for sure. He's like, all right, cool. That's the measure. Got to do it. What's fulfilling is not always great for business.
No.
What's great for business is not always fulfilling. So I think it's always that juggling act of just the honesty of me saying, look, I'm not going to be working. So this is not taking away from the business. If anything, it's gaining, because it's R&R, it's fulfilling, and it's content. Right? I have a digital business. It's content.
Yeah.
It would be different if I called you up today, Timothy, and said, hey, man, I was really looking forward to chatting. Tea time, the only one they had was 1.
Sorry.
Not going to be able to make it. Obviously, that's a little bit different, but for us, it's always been that conversation of, are you the most fulfilled you've ever been? If yes, awesome. That's good. If no, why? And then how do we adjust? And I just happen to be fulfilled by this. And that's why I can do 15 episodes a week. Sure. And all things considered, that's actually like pretty easy at this point, just because of the reps.
Yeah.
But if I get to the end of the week and say, oh, that was not it. Like, that was such a terrible week. That's a conversation that Alan and I have. And then we always pivot because of that. And I also understand that's fairly a privilege, right? Not everybody has that yet. And maybe they're working towards that. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, for us, fulfillment has really been the measuring stick. And if that's going up and to the right, and the growth is going up and to the right, and ego is not going up and to the right, and coping is not going up and to the right, that's a really good suggestion, at least.
Yeah, I think where guys get it mixed up when it comes to professional success is we had Jake Still come on, and he talked about kind of the lessons of blue collar, white collar, and building out businesses. And one of the big themes that was just across all the industries was that provider role as fulfillment, and how when that role is all you're trying to be, how kind of brittle and destructive that can be, right? Because if you put too much of yourself into your professional success and you leave behind your personal, like you leave behind the people that you want that money for, the people you want to take care of, you lose track of it. The other big thing I see too with guys, and it's so weird to me, like a lot of the high performers I work with don't know how much money they have.
Interesting.
Like they know how much money they bring in, but they have no concept of, oh, I hit my mark. I could have stopped 2 years ago if I went by my mark that I set 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you just get in that groove, right? Like you said, now you can do 15, 20 appearances a week because you've been doing this long enough that you've got your legs under you. Yeah. And so that starts to feel normal. But like you said, man, when it went too far and hit that 30 mark, right? You're like, there's no amount of competency that makes this okay.
No, it's bad. It sucks. It's like, this kind of sucks. And that's the thing is I'm very privileged. That was awesome. So many people wanted to talk. It was amazing. But yeah, I think the significance that I got, the mastery that I got, the impact that I got was not worth what I got, what I felt, what I had to give. It was the equation was skewed at that point for sure.
Well, and so when you mentioned like when you hit that, there was this kind of gut check that you had. And I want to kind of hone in on that for a minute, because I think that's what most guys that are on the higher end of achieving miss, where they learn how to push, they learn how to like make themselves do the uncomfortable thing to go through the failures to learn. But they don't always find out that sometimes the pain and the discomfort is important to listen to. Because like Alan was talking about, right, on a certain level, you've got to be able to acknowledge and ignore. Right? Like waking up at 6 to go to the gym is not fun.
No.
Like it's just not for the first 6 months. It can get fun. Like I know a lot of guys that once they get their happens under them, it's what they look forward to. But that first 6 months is always rough. But that's not the same thing as hurt my shoulder and I'm not changing my routine.
For me, it's always a conversation of ideal versus realistic. So today is a great example. Usually my first call is not until 11 a.m. My first call was at 10:30 and I had a bunch of things. I got to pack. We're going away. I wanted to go lift. I wanted to. And I said, you know what? I let me do 30 minutes of cardio. And let me just, is that checking the box? Yeah, but I mean, that's a really good box to check. I mean, that's really good progress, right? Let me check the box and then make sure the rest of my day is set up for more success and just more productivity in a positive way. Like less anxious, less overwhelmed, cool. But I also used to be the guy who it didn't matter. I mean, not even used to be. I went and squatted heavy on Sunday with a pulled hamstring. It was just like, I don't care, whatever. If it pops, it pops. Oh. There's a little piece of me, Timothy, that I like to ride the lightning on that. I wanted to be a professional fighter. I wanted to be a stunt man. I was doing jiu-jitsu last year, and somebody they couldn't get the choke in, but they had it across my nose. Yeah. And there was a little piece of me that was like, I hope you break it. I do. I hope you break it. But that helps in certain ways. But again, we've always connected that to, there's a big difference between having a chip on your shoulder and the chip running you.
Yes.
And having a chip on the shoulder and you running the chip. That has been an evolution for me, for sure. But I also am a fairly reckless individual for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, there's a few reasons for it, I would imagine. And it's not going to be simple, right? Those kinds of things are generally pretty complex. One of the frames that's been kicking around in my mind a lot lately, just from my clinical work and some of the therapy I've been doing, is parts work is really popular now in the field.
Yeah.
Where people want to talk about, these parts of you that were developed when you needed them to go in these straight lines and you've got to reparent them. And I've been thinking a lot about that because I'm also doing a lot of work around identifying masculine and feminine parenting, the value fathers bring in and what we've been missing as fathers have been kind of cycled out of the picture for the last few generations. And when you think about that in your mind, where you're in that place where you're like, oh man, like, yeah, come on, try to me up. Like, this is going to be great. Let's go. Let's see what happens. It goes back to this idea that I heard quoted. I think it was in Rob Lowe's autobiography of all places.
Nice.
His first biography was great. I normally don't care about Hollywood guys. It was a really touching, it was very good, well told. But I liked how he talked about parenting, where you need one person to say, I love you, be careful. But you also need a parent saying, show me how far you can go. And I think if we do it well, we have those moments where like, yeah, let's see what happens. But then afterwards, we've got ourselves going, okay, like, are we, maybe don't do that next time.
It's fair. Yeah, it's fair. I pulled both my hamstrings. Both of them.
Awful.
And they're healed. Like, I'm good. Yeah, it's what do you trust in yourself? Is it intuition? Is it experience? Is it wisdom? What do you trust?
For me, it's always comes back to awareness if I'm doing it right. I think the big thing I've noticed moving into my 40s is every decade, how I push has to change. In your 20s, you just throw yourself at a wall. Like whatever is going to happen, you're probably going to bounce. And if you haven't fallen down a few times in your 20s, you're doing it wrong. In your 30s, you've still got some really good energy and resilience, but you aim better. And now things are starting to slow down where you've got people that depend on you a little bit. And so you've got to be a little bit more careful with those falls because it's not just you on the line anymore.
Right.
And now in my 40s, what I see is I don't want to take the hits as heavy, because if I keep going where I'm at the platform I'm at the things I've built, I can reach more. And there's a foundation of things that I have that I don't want to risk. I'm not going to risk my license. I'm not going to risk my education practice. These are now integral into my life, and a lot of people do. And sometimes for good reasons, but I need those things. It's my life.
Yeah. So the necessity is higher because the opportunity, responsibility, proof.
Well, and I think the fall's just further.
Yeah.
Right. So the other thing I see a lot of is a lot of middle-aged guys, they get a divorce and their confidence and everything is shot, right? Their life is falling apart and they're looking for community and they get into jujitsu. Like, I don't know what it is with middle-aged dudes in jujitsu, but it's like the thing. And jujitsu is great. Anybody who wants to go do it, I think everybody should know what it feels like to be punched in the face at least once in your life.
Definitely.
But what I see a lot of is they haven't done anything like that since their 20s. They show up, they haven't been working out the way that they probably needed to, right? They slowed down and they jump in and they don't get how quickly that injury comes. So almost all my guys that jump into that cold in 6 months or a year get a major injury.
Yeah.
And some of it's just because your body is not as resilient in your 40s. Things are starting to slow down, and by your 40s, I feel like you're holding on to what you can build, not trying to grow as much anymore physically. So that way you live a longer, healthier life. That's kind of where the goal shifts to.
Yeah. I heard that from, I don't remember the channel I was listening to, but it was when I started going to the gym in the 40s, it was, how do I make sure I can come back tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
When I was in my 20s, it was, how do I make sure I get the most out of today? It's like, I'm not there yet.
Oh, man.
But
No, you're still crushing it. You're good.
I appreciate it. But I also, I don't know, the other thing is like, it's hard to know where you are in contrast with the statistical average. And then like, where does the advice cross over? Like Alan's a really good example because a lot of people are like, oh, you work too much. And Alan, I believe, was put here to maximize his potential.
If he wasn't working, he'd be miserable.
He'd be miserable.
Yeah.
But so many people don't get that. They're like, well, don't you want friend? No, he doesn't care about friend. He's here to maximize his potential. I know the dude behind the scenes. That's all he cares about, that and being a good man. Right? Not to the detriment of being toxic.
But he rides that line.
At times for sure. Yeah, at times for sure. And it's beautiful. Like you said, I'm there to say we pushed it too far.
That's what I loved about him talking about it, was he talked about it like a guy that's gone over the line and found his braces and
many times.
Found his guardrails.
Yeah,
and
many times.
That's, for me, that's the key to high performers, man. You got to have guardrails in your life because you will always blow past things.
Yeah. Well, I think to your point, it's important to have people in your life that, my wife does not care about any of this. Doesn't care. Doesn't care about money. Doesn't care. Now, at some point, I think it will cross a chasm when it's like, well, because of the money, you can go donate and or volunteer and or advocate as much as you want, and you do whatever you want and fill your heart as much as humanly possible. But she wants me to be a good man. That's it. Be a good, positive, healthy, masculine man. That is it. That is a piece of it, and that's a piece of me. And then there's also that other side of grind and, the juggling act of those two.
I think the kind of theme that I'm picking up as we talk is grit is wonderful, discipline is wonderful. And the guys that don't have it, go through some failures and build it. It's going to make your life incredibly, incredibly better. Guys who have that but don't have awareness, figure out your whys. And whatever a good man means to you, whatever taking care of the people around you means to you, those need to be the guardrails on the other side of that. And that's how you kind of stay in dialectic behavior therapy. One of the paradigms we use is like, imagine you're in white water, and when your drives and values are in alignment, or your emotions and your thoughts are in alignment, you're in the deep water in the middle and could just rock down. But the minute one is grinding too hard on the other, things slow down, things start to get hurt.
Yeah. It's so much harder though, isn't it? That's like, our whole brand is health, wealth, and love.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just the most humbling thing. I'll be crushing it in one. It's like, I'm the man. And then my wife will be like, we haven't done a date night in 3 months. It's like, oh my God, I am the worst. I am the, how did that happen? And it always is that I'll never get to 10 in all three.
No, not at the same time.
Not at the same time. I don't think that's even possible.
It isn't.
And I appreciate the fact that you said that, because I've said that to many people and they're like, no, you can. You can't. I don't think you can. It's not, the numbers don't number. But 8.5 now is way better than 8.5 was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that is a huge piece of what I am doing and the reason I'm doing it in the way I am. We have a self-improvement company. If I don't get better, I'm going to lose the company. Like, this is a necessity. If I must get better. That is like in my job description. So it's weird how the whole thing connects. We had a mentor who said, what you create creates you. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as a byproduct of what we've created over the last 8 years, I feel selfish for how much I've grown. I've grown way more than anybody in the community ever could, because I'm behind the scenes doing it every day. And it's the absolute best. So that quote is something that really jumps off the page. And if you're out there right now and you don't know what you're creating, and creating doesn't mean podcast up, it doesn't mean that. It means whatever your unique version of that is. That's also creating you. And I think that's important to understand.
That's what I see a lot of the high successful guys. They come in their 30s and 40s and they've crushed it. Like whatever they were trying to do, they absolutely wrecked it. But they're like, why don't my kids and wife like me? I look at all the things I provide for them. Look at the life they have. Why don't they like me? And then you break it down and you're like, well, do they know you? Have you been there? Do you know them? And I like how Scott Galloway put it, where you can't have it all, or what do you say? You can have it all, but you can't have it all at once.
Right.
And so for me, I always kind of try to just accept that, like, when I dial it in those rare moments when everything's at like an 8 and you're cruising down the middle and everything's rocking and rolling, love that, lean into that, feel that. Those are the moments that make it all worthwhile. And then notice when it's starting to get to like a 5 in one end, so you don't crash.
Yes.
And then just kind of like, okay, like, let me gone too far there. Let me bring it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And accept that that's just a flow of life. Because I think that within the manosphere and kind of the self-help, where it goes wrong is, we're trying to break down complex things in an hour at a time. And the things that people look for, there's numerous episodes on and numerous people talking about, and they're talking about it in these 15, 20-minute clips. And the ways to be successful at it are very simple. You'll hear them over and over, right? Work out, have some discipline, get some grit, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's simple, not easy. It's the complexity that everybody has to find themselves, because nobody's going to find that for you.
Yeah. And a lot of this was my gripe in the beginning. I never resonated with anybody in our space because I could tell they all had like Allen level self-belief. It's like, you don't know. Your advice to me is
there's
just
no struggle there.
Yeah, like, just believe in myself. Thank you. What do you think I'm trying to do? Yeah, check. Thank you. Have you ever thought of just not being anxious? Yes, I have. It didn't work for me. What do you want me to tell you?
I dream about it every night.
All
Thanks
the
for
time.
asking.
All the freaking time. That was always my gripe, is I do not believe you can actually help me until you've actually understood what it's like to live through life with my human experience. Fundamentals, sure. I have found that so many of the most successful people are not less now than ever, mostly talking about external stuff.
Yeah.
They're not talking about self-worth. They're not talking about escapism. They're not talking about that. It's go to the gym, be disciplined, build grit. That's great. That's awesome. And half the equation, right? That's the visible half the equation. But that was always really hard for me, is because the people who I wanted to take advice from, I knew their advice wasn't necessarily for me. And a lot of the people I looked for who had the external success that I desired never talked about the other side of the equation. So I didn't know where to get that type of advice.
As you're talking about that, I can't help of thinking about having an almost exact opposite experience. So I'm a therapist, right? We dig around in your psyche.
Fair.
I love my job of just like, hey, let's go into you. Like, we're going to get in there, we're going to figure you out. This is going to be a blast, and you're amazing, and we're going to figure out how to help you know that. Love my job, never going to do anything else in my life if I can help it. And my colleagues, it's 4 out of 5 women. It's a lot of people with a lot of empathy, right? Like, you're literally a professional empath. They're not the most goal-driven folks. They're the ones that when they look at you and Alan, they're like, there's something wrong with them.
Right.
As opposed to, and I see it all the time, guys come to me, I'll be their second or third therapist. And part of why the other therapist didn't work out is because they never had any goals. Like, look, man, I need to know what we're aiming for. And when I leave her, I want something to do. Like, give me something to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's been really nice kind of entering into a little bit more of the self-help lane and like getting in touch with you all and seeing how that impact goes. But that out of balance thing in the fields is incredibly profound, right? Like, in the coaching end, it's just all performance. And on the therapy end, it's all kind of ego-driven self-exploration.
Yeah.
And you need both. You just need both.
Alan says all the time, if you're looking, and I will expand on it because I don't think it's this cut and dry, but if you're looking for a coach, you need a therapist. If you're looking for a therapist, you need a coach. I think everybody needs both, right? Realistically. But yeah, goals are so important in progressing as a human and building self-belief and self-worth and self-efficacy. So important. Talking about the past and talking about what has happened to you and what has happened because of what has happened to you is so important. I think it's just a mix of the two. I think the problem is you can't see the second one. You can only see, well, Kev, he's got muscles. I could listen to him on fitness advice. That's cool. Don't listen to me when I start talking about relationships if I don't know anything about relationships, because just because I have one silo filled up does not mean I have the others, right? And that's, social media is a weird place.
It really is.
You know better than I, I'm sure.
Well, it's a very strange thing, and especially to step into it now.
Yeah.
Like, at this point in my career, the big thing that comes up is money touches guys. And it's incredibly important as American guys for our self-worth, and we've got weird relationships with it. And so I talk about money a lot with guys, but I almost always have to remind them, and hey man, don't take financial advice from a therapist. Like, do you got a guy? Do you need one? I know some. Like, I can hook you up, but like, don't take advice from me on your money.
What have you noticed about that? Like, what's the number one thing I wouldn't understand about what most men are connected to money in terms of money?
It's when it's going wrong, it's fear-based.
As opposed to
like markers, success, and like feeling the safety of the resource.
Okay.
And so what happens is, and particularly guys that grew up without money, that scarcity feel, no matter how much they make, because they keep expanding their life out. Their life gets more expensive. And so, yeah, $20,000, $30,000 is a lot of money. But all of a sudden I got guys coming into me saying, man, I can't afford to come every week. I know I make $300,000 a year, but I'm at my red line. And it's because they never figured out where they can stop expanding to feel safe. And once you're at that kind of money and you're still expanding, it's not the money anymore.
Right.
Whatever's going on, it's not the money, I promise.
Intriguing. Okay. Interesting.
The guys that do the best, that are like high earners, are the guys that the money has a reason. Like, I'm going for this money because I want these things. And these things are in service of this part of me and part of what's important to me. And then, yeah, man, if you want to be a multimillionaire, go chase it, go knock it down. But most people don't need to be a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
Most people need enough to take care of their family, to live a good life and connect.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Hey, man, thanks for asking.
Of course.
So I want to leave guys with like one thing or two things that they could kind of leave with. One of the common adages, right, is 20% of the effort gets you 60 to 80% of the return. When it comes to building out grit and discipline that's sustainable, what are one or two practices that you've seen really land well and give people a lot of traction pretty quickly?
Start with a goal that's almost embarrassingly small.
Yeah.
For you, not compared to me. That you can build so much momentum by actually starting. I think we just overcomplicate that so much. That's one. And then honestly, the second one would be build something in, it doesn't have to be like a recurring practice, but Build something into your schedule that is completely outside of the norm, that is just uncomfortable for the sake of being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've lost sight of, I mean, look, where I have really good internet, you have really good internet. I could order anything. They'll bring it to my house. They might even bring it inside if I give them the key. It's so easy in terms of accessibility. Go sleep outside under the stars and be a little cold. Like that. Create your own level of suffering that is constructive to you. I just think it gives you so much appreciation for when you're not suffering. Those would be two things that I would suggest.
Like, I think like I finally kind of came to a distinction, right? For me, the quote I always like is pain without purpose is just suffering, right? So find purposeful discomfort and pain, like life friction, right? If you're not having any friction, anything you're rubbing up against, you're not growing, right? You're not pushing anything, and feel the friction so you don't take it so far, right? You don't want to get to that suffering point where you fall down, you've broken things, and you can't get up.
Yeah, don't stay out in the cold until you get hypothermia. Don't do that. But feel it.
Yeah, but maybe like on a nice summer night, go get eaten by a bug or two.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. I'm always looking for perspective. Perspective is that's how this whole thing started, like from a place of philosophy for me, and the fact that we're on a rock spinning through the universe. Like that, I can't think about it too much because I'll obsess over it, but that is, it keeps me grounded. This whole thing is weird and wonky and a miracle, and it's so easy to lose sight of that when we're stuck on a screen all day.
Well, and the kind of one thing that I always try to leave people with on as far as achieving a goal and like getting something, be around people trying to achieve that goal. I think as Americans, we're so individualistic, which is great, man. Got us to the moon. We're better at business. There's good things about that. But we forget the power of community. I can't remember the data, but there's a really good stat on having a workout buddy increases the length and duration of workouts as far as like time that they keep them by an astounding amount. Like it's exponential.
Yeah.
And so if nothing else, find other guys that are trying to get better. You know, be around people trying to get good at whatever you're trying to get good at.
100%.
I'm really curious to see kind of some of your answers to the more personal questions after your years of like, how many guys would you say you've kind of played around in their masculinity and their psyche at this point in your career?
Oh man. Hundreds and hundreds. Yeah.
Yeah, same. It's so I'm really looking forward to kind of how some of these perspectives land on you.
Same. Same.
So what's a truth about masculinity you learned before you were 12 that's remained true today?
You don't have to have it all figured out.
And you learned that early?
I didn't have a positive male role model in my life, but my family was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
But it never made me look at them differently. It's like, you guys you're just humans. You don't have it all figured out. So it wasn't necessarily from the traditional lens of masculinity, but my mother was a fairly masculine individual. She's a badass. My mom's a badass. So I learned it from her.
I love that got modeled for you. I think when I work with dads, every father is terrified of when their kids stop seeing him as a superhero. And I think that fear makes a lot of guys, when they're around young boys and girls, project this not messy. Right.
Yeah.
And there's some truth to that, right? You want your ballast point, you want your person that's stable. But I think people forget that kids learn by watching you, not by what you tell them.
I think one of the best things for me that didn't seem like the best thing is I never looked at my family as superheroes, ever. And I think as a child that can be a lot, but later in life it was like, I never did. That was never a thing for me.
Well, you got to take the good with the bad, right? I'm sure there were really terrifying times as a child not having the illusion of competency around you, is what I call it.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And when you come out on the other side of it and you're healed, you get the good too. You get the strength of going through that.
Yeah, 100%.
So what's a time that pursuit of manhood has hurt you?
Oh, man. There was this time where I approached two young ladies at a party, and I was interested in connecting with them. And they just, why would we ever be with someone like you? You're short.
Oof.
Yeah, brutal. That is my deep wound. Yeah. The pursuit of masculinity in that moment, what I thought was masculinity, was to say, well, I would never be with someone like you anyway. You don't even know how much money I make and how successful I am. That is what I thought I was supposed to say. When in reality, I think I should have said something along the lines of, I feel like my approach was relatively respectful. I apologize if it wasn't. I don't think I deserve that type of response. Yeah. I was not there though. I was not at that place yet.
No, and I think this is where a lot of guys, and I think every guy has to dial this in. I don't think anybody just shows up getting it right, but we mistake aggression for boundaries.
Yep.
And you need aggression. You need it in your pocket to know you can hold your boundary, but it's not the same thing.
Right.
I think every guy can relate to some kind of rejection like that. They probably reacted a little bit poorly.
Shout out to you if you reacted better than I did. That's all I had, and I was making good money, so I felt like, look, this is my significance here.
I've reacted better than that a lot of times, and there's like middle school, high school, college. There's always at least one a year where I'm like, man, I could have done that so much better.
Same. Here's another one. I look back at my Facebook messages from when I was like 18, and I assumed you just had to be mean. I thought that was like what masculinity was. Yeah. If you could give me a large sum of money to like bring it up right now, I don't even know if I could do it without being so embarrassed. That is another one for me.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing about, like, we're pretty close to an age, I think. And being the early adopters of all the social media, we didn't know how permanent it was.
No. No.
Yeah.
It lives forever.
It's unfortunately, it really does. Well, man, we want to take everybody out on a high note. What's a time where the pursuit of your manhood has empowered you?
There have been a few times where my wife and I are in a challenging conversation, and I've just started crying. And it has brought us so much closer, and it has made me feel so much safer with vulnerably communicating with her. And now that's like, I feel like that's a strength of mine in my relationship, is I'm very, very vulnerable when it's right. Yes,
You're strong enough to be
strong. Yeah, it's a tool that I've been able to develop. It's a skill that I've been able to develop. And that is because I'm focused on being the most well-rounded man I can be, and I understand the value of that. So that has definitely served me.
Well, I think it goes back, and I've said it in a few other episodes, so listeners, if you're tired of hearing it, I'm sorry, but please hold it close. A colleague of mine who's been at this game a little longer than me, he had the greatest just simplicity of like what we do as working with guys is, I feel like our whole job is convincing guys they don't have to hold it together all the time, but they have to hold it together most of the time. And what I see so often is that brittle manhood where there's no one that you're willing to do that around. And it's not a safe world to do it everywhere, and you shouldn't do it everywhere. That's unregulated, it's disconnected, it's testing people, it's trash behavior. And if you don't have anybody that you would be comfortable, like being uncomfortable enough to cry in front of, you're missing important connection points that brace you for the strength you're looking for.
100%. Well said.
Well, man, again, I can't thank you enough for coming on and doing this. You know, listening to you two, some of this stuff was clear, but having the two conversations with you has really solidified how much respect I have for you all and the work you do.
I appreciate that.
I really love the energy and the tools and the care that you two bring together. And so thanks for putting out into the world what you do.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I don't know if this is where you saw the conversation going. I hope there was a shred of value in that. I know I was all over the place, but I always get very explorative in episodes like this with other humans who are also hyper explorative. So I appreciate you creating a safe environment to do that.
No, man, that's the whole point, right? It's an hour-long conversation. If you don't have room to explore in an hour, what's a therapy session?
That's fair. I dig it.
All right. And where can folks find you if they're looking for more?
The podcast is called The Next Level University. We do an episode every day. You get a little bit better every day, and we will help you lead the charge on that. So it's on all the podcast platforms. It's on YouTube. I would say that is the best place to find us.
Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me, my friend.
And that's our conversation with Kevin from Next Level University. We're so lucky to have him and Alan come on and share their insights with us. Alan really brought that fire, that motivation to go and just knock some things down and do what you've got to do to get through it. I love how Kevin brought in the balance of that on what it takes to sustain that fire for a life, how to build a life that you want, not just a goal. It's a beautiful thing to pay attention to. For the fact check, it's important to point out two things. Nothing was particularly wrong in this episode, but I feel like these are worth pointing out because they balance out the episode really nicely. The first one is that Kevin talked about how guys don't tend to go to therapy as often as women. That's true. We don't. And it's not because we're weak. I think it's because guys are so often caught up in that they should have the grit to not need help that they don't go. Remember, the way to build out grit is with support. So if you're one of those guys and you've never tried therapy, but you're listening to this to get better, maybe consider giving it a shot. The other one is Kevin talked about the importance of fathers and that even a father who isn't doing the best is still much better in somebody's life than not having one. He is absolutely correct. All the data top down says that even a father who is struggling to be the dad he wants to be is better than not having one. This is important though. We're not talking about abusive behavior. We're talking about dads that are trying to show up and not being able to in the way they want to. So if you're one of those guys, keep showing up, keep getting better for your kids. I promise you, they're better for having you there than not. Don't let anybody convince you otherwise. Why do I think these two facts are important? Having the right people around and having the right support structure and systems around are how you sustain that grit, just like Kevin was teaching us. So, who in your life is going to help you? Through the episode, I asked you to listen for things that were firing you up and burning you out. Who are you going to share this with? Who's going to bring you accountability and help you get to where you want to be? We need people around us and we need systems around us to maintain the things we build. So I look forward to seeing y'all's answers. And I think it's important. Remember, a lot of guys are trying to do this as well, and your answer might help somebody out. This is our 20th episode, and I'm really excited. If you're still here and listening, thank you so much for being here and being on this journey with me and the help that we're bringing into the world. I hope these episodes are being useful to you. I know that I've really enjoyed making them and engaging with the audience. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you next time when we're bringing on a dating coach to talk about the complexities of masculine dating in the modern environment and what to do about it. I'll see you there.